Welcome to this next video on basically how to do everything in Sudowrite and in Story Engine, which is the main attraction for a lot of people in Sudowrite. In the last two videos, we covered the brain dump, which is where you put everything you know about the story, and I currently put everything I know about the book 5 in my Fairy Queen series in here. And then in the second video, we covered genre and style with the idea that when it comes to style, we're probably going to have to tweak this a bit once we actually get to writing the prose. But today we're going to be focusing on the synopsis and anything that we think this synopsis could use. Let's first understand what this is a little bit and how it is creating it. First of all, and I don't know this for sure, but I think that the synopsis field is using GPT 3.5. And I'm pretty certain of that, but don't quote me. And so if you want to use and create a synopsis that's a little bit more advanced, you could just do this in ChatGPT and then copy and paste it into here. If you create the synopsis somewhere else and then copy and paste, it will not count against your word count that Sudowrite takes. But for now, we're just going to use it. We're going to generate it like it says. And to look here at how it works, it says it establishes the characters, their goals, the central conflict, how the story begins and how it ends. It also conveys the story's tone, themes, and unique elements. And it is generated based on the brain dump. So it's important. If you want anything specific to happen in your story, it needs to be in the brain dump. Otherwise, it will probably not make it into the synopsis. So let's go ahead and generate and see what it gives us based on everything I've input so far. All right, so it's given me a pretty decent synopsis here. It helps that the amount of data that I gave it in the brain dump was pretty extensive. I had a lot of the key points that I wanted to hit, including the ending. And so that's going to help it do a much better synopsis. So keep that in mind. But it definitely has some good information here. It is following my instructions. I will probably have to read through this and make a couple of edits. But the more you're able to put into the brain dump, the less you will have to edit this section. However, a couple of things to keep in mind. So it did give us an ending here. Yeah, this is the ending of the story. And then it gives us a little bit more about some of the characters and the tone. This is all based on the brain dump that I put in there. It probably wouldn't show here if I hadn't added something about it. And then it says, and this is common, you will see this a lot when generating this synopsis. It says, in conclusion, this novel is full of action, magic, and intrigue. The heroes face insurmountable odds as they strive to defeat Kronos and his minions. With its engaging characters and rich setting, this book will keep readers on the edge of their seats until the very end. So it's trying to sell you. It thinks that we're writing a book description. And even though it did include the ending up higher, it is going to often think that this is a book description it's trying to write instead of a synopsis. And the two are very different. You want to make sure that you are writing a synopsis, not the book description, so that you can include the entire story, including the ending, which you would not do, obviously, in a book description because you don't want to spoil the ending here. So this is actually pretty good overall. I'm okay with this. But what you would want to do at this point is go through and edit this to be what you want. If there's something in there that you're like, that's too vague, or I don't really want that in my story, or it really should be this other thing, then you need to make those edits here. Otherwise, it's going to carry over into the characters sheet and into the outline, and then ultimately into the prose unless you fix it. So a couple of things you can do. You can edit this yourself, or you can rewrite the synopsis here with some feedback. So I don't have a ton of feedback, but one thing I do like to do sometimes when creating my synopsis is saying something like, let's rewrite it with more detail, close to 800 words because that's what it gives us. So I want to try and let it flesh things out a little more. Divide it into 3 sections to match the 3 acts of a 3-act structure. And just to make sure it knows exactly what I mean, I'm just going to say Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, and maybe I'll even give it some more guidance. Well, no, we can just end it with that. And hopefully this will enable it to give me a little bit something extra. Keep in mind, if you are generating with this, it will use up more of your word count. So if you have access to ChatGPT, especially ChatGPT Plus, you might want to consider doing it there in order to not use up your words in Sudowrite. But just so I'm demonstrating this, we're going to go ahead and just rewrite it here. And now you can see it's already given us Act 1 here. Act 2. It's definitely giving us a few more words as well. All right, and this isn't bad. It's not that different. It looks like maybe a few extra words. Yeah, in fact, it was in the 400s before. Now it's in the 600s. So that's good. All right, this is pretty good. I'm okay with this. I'm going to give it a solid read through to make sure that the synopsis is everything I want it to be. But then we will move on in the next video. We're going to be tackling characters, and I will see you then.